Hello, coaches. So today we're going to be taking a look at coaching presence with this video, I should say. Start. Hello, coaches. With this video, we will be taking a deeper dive into coaching presence and looking at the distinctions not only between PCC and MCC level, but overall, the distinctions across the levels of credentialing with the ICF. Because this particular competency, I know I say this with all of these videos, I think, but coaching presence is a very, very important competency, especially as it relates not only to your skills as a coach, but also to how you present yourself as a coach, how you market yourself as a coach, the way you set expectations with a client at the beginning of the relationship or reset expectations throughout the relationship about what your role is and how the conversations will feel, what the experience will be like. So as we get started here, we're going to take a quick look at coaching presence as a whole and then dive into the details. So first, coaching presence is going to be related to that idea of dancing in the moment, being fully present, being open to the creativity of the coaching space, being flexible, experimenting, trusting the process and trusting yourself in that process. So there's a lot of balance with the way you present yourself and the way you trust yourself and the coaching experience. At the lowest level, at the ACC level, the coach attends to the client's agenda, but is, and here's the coaching presence part, is attached to their own performance, and therefore presence is diluted by the coach's own attention to self. This statement that's highlighted in yellow here is really at the core of what coaching presence is not meant to be, what we are moving away from as we continue to grow as a coach. As we grow, we see some changes at the PCC level. The coach attends to the client's agenda, but drives the coaching and choice of tools. So we've seen this a little bit with some other competencies. A coach will choose objective or subjective perspective, but rarely hold both simultaneously. So the coach is narrow in their focus. They're shining a light on things for themselves and for the client, rather than holding that holistic perspective that is so valuable when creating awareness and offering listening and questions. The coach will evidence the need to have direction towards solution versus simply being in the moment with the client. And this is, again, another core statement. Being in the moment with a client, dancing in the moment, as it's said in the field, is really core to who we want to be for the client. At the PCC level minimums, there's a bit of evidence, it's not much, but there's a bit of evidence that the coach is not simply in the moment with a client, that the coach needs to have direction towards solution. This isn't saying that the coach ignores setting an agenda. It's actually saying the coach, as they set the agenda, as they explore, as you hear a pattern with their questions, those questions are always trying to move towards resolution, closing the session, instead of opening and just shining the spotlight across the whole situation, the whole of the client, stepping back. That's what we ought to do, the stepping back, the shining the spotlight on everything. But it's hard to do that when in our heart we are concerned about our own performance. We're concerned about, will this session feel good to the client? Will they really get what they want? And how can they get what they want if I'm not pushing them to the resolution, the solution? But the challenge is when the coach is pushing a client to the solution, the coach is going to be determining how and when we do that. The coach is going to have to rely on themselves to determine at what point should I ask about action? At what point should I highlight some options? And there's this tension that comes with being concerned about the direction of the session and getting to the solution, the resolution of the agenda. So the coach will be choosing ways to move versus letting the client teach the coach ways to move. So instead of allowing a shift to happen, a big aha moment to happen, and then capitalizing on that, help just prompting towards action or prompting towards application of that learning. The coach is consistently looking for when the client should move towards that resolution. So another opposite of what we really want long-term in our coaching presence is that partnership might be present or is present, but it's mixed with the coach as expert and as someone who is greater than the client. And I really want to zoom in on that phrase. Do I, as a coach, see myself as an expert and greater than the client within a session? Of course I have expertise. Of course I've got experience. I've coached a lot of different people. I've seen a lot of things. But that doesn't mean that I'm greater than the client. That doesn't mean that I have the better ideas. I'm not being paid for that. Partnership is present, but it is mixed with the coach needing to say that or show that I'm the expert. And I'm greater than the client because my value, what I'm paid for, is to be smarter than you, to be healthier than you, to be a better leader than you, and so on. And that's simply not what coaching is. A coach is not the better. The coach is the one who is prompting the better person, the greater person, the person who is more of an expert on their lives to explore openly and capitalize on that exploration towards a resolution. That is so core to what we need to realize and embrace. And we've said this kind of stuff since the beginning, but at this point, it is time to fully embrace the idea that the client is the expert in their lives. So let's move over here to where we really want to be going. At the MCC level, our North Star in the long run, the coach is a completely connected observer to the client. We've set aside that need to be the expert. The connection is to the whole of who the client is, how the client learns, what the client has to teach the coach. Again, it's not just being a narrowly focused coach just on getting from point A to Z by getting the agenda and getting to solutions. We have to stop that. As soon as we get the agenda, we do not go to what are you going to do differently. We might do a rough drafting, but we do not close the session. The connection is to the whole of who the client is and how the client learns and what the client has to teach the coach. That's what we are exploring in the session. And through that exploration, we can trust that learning will lead to action. Learning will lead to transformation. Learning will lead to the client's resolution. And the coach does not know what that resolution ought to be. The coach cannot know exactly what that resolution should be. We may have some suggestion. We've got to be very careful about those. But even with a suggestion, even with a tool, even with some sort of resource we believe the client would benefit from, we do not know if that is the best way. We do not know how the client needs to contextualize our ideas into their own work and their own lives. So always keep in mind that the connection needs to be to who the client is, how they learn, and what they have to contribute. Coach is ready to be touched by the client and welcome signals that create resonance for both the coach and the client. We are enjoying the exploration. We are not worried about the closing. The coach evidences a complete curiosity that is undiluted by a need to perform. And the coach is in full partnership. The coach trusts that value is inherent in the process versus having the need to create the value. And as we look at everything so far in our exploration of these competencies and the comparison charts, this statement to me stands out most. what we most need to move towards in our coaching skills is to make sure our coaching mindset is in place so that our skills can flow naturally. If I believe that a coaching session's value is dependent on me having the ideas, it will not be as valuable as it could be. My coaching presence, who I am for the client, is heavily influenced by my belief that the coaching process itself, setting the expectations and the agreement, openly exploring, getting those aha moments, capitalizing on those aha moments towards action or application, and challenging action, maybe resetting expectations, and so on. That process, if I trust that that process has value in and of itself, it frees me emotionally. It helps me be more present for my client, and it helps the client do more work. And that is where the value of coaching lies. Some real quick things to watch out for. The coach does not treat the client as a full partner. The coach, at the PCC level, the coach exhibits a bunch of interest, a lot of interest in the coach's view of the situation rather than the client's view. At the MCC level, that needs to be completely set aside. The coach does not seek information from the client about the client's thinking around the situation. It's not even, we're not asking questions about the situation necessarily and getting information, but we want to learn about what the client's thinking and how they see the situation, their challenge, the problem they want to solve in the session. The coach does not seek information about the client's goals and seems to be focused on the coach's demonstration of knowledge. Oh, I've experienced this before. Don't worry. I can give you, like, this session will get you what you need because I'm comfortable with this topic. We want to be careful that not to be focused on our demonstration of knowledge. We got to be careful not to come across as someone who is greater. Again, choosing the direction, not seeking the client's input. And there's any indication, or in PCC level, there's some indication the coach is teaching rather than coaching. Really, there shouldn't be any indication of the coach teaching. If there's any moment of sharing, we really need to make that clear that we are wearing a different hat temporarily and then coming back into coaching, handing that back for the client's interpretation. And that's what this last piece is about. So I hope this is helpful. This is one of, like I said, one of the most important tables. I would encourage you to take a look at this yourself and study it. Keep in mind, again, we want to make sure that the coach trusts the process and is fully partnered with the client. When we trust that process and embrace coaching at its core, the client will get more out of that experience. We have talked about ways of addressing lower readiness individuals, offering tools, and all of those things still apply. We can definitely do that. But if we don't trust the process of coaching itself, then we'll never take our coaching to that next level. So keep striving towards that, keep growing as a coach, and your clients will get more from your time.